Hi everyone, my name is Ashik, and today I'm going to be reviewing for you the Delonghi Stilosa, this little beast that I've been using for just at about 1 year now. And I can honestly say that this little guy has honestly just been a game changer over the last year. I was initially quite conflicted about whether or not to buy a coffee machine. They all seem so expensive. But during Amazon Prime sales last year, I saw an epic sale where this guy, who usually costs about 150, was being sold for 120. And I thought to myself, why not? That's a pretty low expense. And I guess it's really entry level way for me to find out if making coffee at home is really the kind of thing that I wanted to get into. I know that the very thought of making coffee at home and being like a little barista at home to me was personally very exciting. So I just wanted to see if it was worth a bigger investment down the line. So yeah, I bought this machine and yeah, 1 year later, I can tell you that it was well worth the investment. That's the long story short of this review. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, I can tell you that it is well worth the investment, especially if you're the kind of person who knows that they're not going to make coffee at home all the time and you don't want to spend $500 to $1,000 on a really good quality machine, but you do want to get pretty decent coffee from the lowest spend possible, and you want to save a lot of money. Because honestly, I can tell you, rather than spending $5 on a coffee every single day, and instead maybe spending it once or twice a week, and then the other 5 days a week you just make coffee at home, you will be very, very happy with this machine right here. So what I'm going to be doing for you right now is walking you through the main things that I personally found to be a very good positive experience with the machine. And then at the end, just to make it a little bit more balanced, I'll walk you through some of the things that I think may have made the experience or would have made the experience much more better. But honestly, for the price, you cannot complain with what you get. It is epic value. So, the absolute biggest perk of getting this machine is that you get to have the full barista experience for such a low price, which is absolutely crazy. What's the first part of the barista experience? Being able to choose your own coffee beans. I have tried numerous different types of coffee beans over the last year, brands like Ona to Campos to other random brands that are selling at Coles and Woolies. I've even tried decaf like this is. And by the way, I've found that some decaf beans actually taste bloody amazing. I've just made myself a cuppa right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it is really good. I might put some B-roll in the footage so you can see how good the extraction was for this particular coffee. But anyways, look, you get to enjoy and learn about the full barista experience from the get-go, starting with the coffee beans all the way to, weighing out the coffee beans using a mini kitchen scale and then grinding it. So I bought myself a a manual grinder. And with this manual grinder, I put all the coffee beans in here. I weigh it out. And then just like this, I grind it up. And then the cool thing is that it comes down at the bottom. And by the way, I can also set the diameter or the size of the grinds. And then once I have that, I then put it into a portafilter, which by the way is completely customizable with this machine. I bought this portafilter. It's a bottomless portafilter, which gives me the ability to really learn about how to extract coffee properly because the bottom is completely open. What that means is I can see how the coffee pours out, and it lets me see whether I've tamped it and whether I've, I guess, distributed the coffee appropriately. But yeah, so bottomless portafilter, so you get the flexibility to choose what kind of portafilter to use. And then I got all these really cool attachments, like this dosing funnel, and then the WDD tool to, really separate out and distribute the grinds, as well as that, this weighted, I don't know what this is called, but it's a weighted tool to be able to, initially press the grounds down and then eventually getting to a tamper to tamp it down. So honestly, how much more barista-like could you get at home? And I know what you're thinking, these things probably did cost me money too, and that's true, but overall, the return on investment you get from all of these devices, all these individual products, plus the coffee, plus the beans, you get it back. So if you're someone that drinks coffee every single day, you definitely get it back. And I'm going to get into that too. But yeah, so look, you get the full coffee experience. So it is a very, very great, well worth it investment for all of this stuff. So the next benefit with this machine right here is the value for money. So all up, I calculated that the total cost in order to use this machine for 1 year, including not just the machine, but also all the individual components I bought, plus 12 months of coffee, comes down to around $1,000. That's what it came down to for me. The total cost of having a coffee out every single day for a year, with the current cost of living where a coffee costs around $5, is around $1,800. Now imagine that if you were to use this coffee machine for, let's just say, 3 years, conservatively, you would easily get a return back on your investment if you're the kind of person that likes to drink coffee every day. Now, I know a lot of people get sucked into the coffee culture and buying coffee out, especially if they work in a city or any CBD, because there are just so many nice cafes out. If you're that kind of person that's exposed to that, then this definitely, actually, that may not be as relevant, because if you're out, you're not going to bring your coffee machine with you. But you get the point of what I'm saying. I guess this impacts people who tend to be home more often. For example, work from home very often. But honestly, even if you're home 3 days out of the week, out of the 7, still well worth the investment, because even if you're at home, you can get tempted to go out for coffee. So that's benefit number 2. It is very high value for money. The next benefit is that it saves you time. For me, it saves me about 20 minutes a day. Here's how I calculate that. Look, for me to be able to make the coffee at home, since I've been doing it for about a year now, I've become pretty efficient and I can make it in just under 10 minutes. God, that doesn't sound too efficient to make coffee in about 10 minutes, especially when you can make espresso probably in about 1. Yeah, maybe I'm not that fast yet, but anyways, to me it's good enough, because I really enjoy the whole experience of making the coffee end to end. For me, it's just me time. I love going through the whole process. To me, 10 minutes is okay. But anyways, if I was to instead decide I wanted to go out for coffee, that would take me about 30 minutes. Why? Because got to spend maybe 5 minutes getting ready, 5 or 10 minutes driving or walking to the coffee shop, maybe 5 minutes waiting in line, maybe 5 minutes waiting for the coffee, and then coming back, getting changed again. So about 20 minutes a day. And honestly, time is so valuable. That time that I'm saving every single day is compounding. So I think it's very easy and accurate for me to say making coffee at home with this machine saves you time. So that's another thing that you're getting back. The next thing I love about the machine is that it is very, very beginner friendly. Take a look. It's literally got like 2 or 3 buttons on it. You've got the switch for one extracting espresso, and then the one on the other side for frothing. So this machine also has a frother, which is really, really cool. And as well as that, oh, by the way, that's something that I missed when I was describing the barista experience. You also get to froth milk. How cool. And then the other thing is you've just got a trigger here to be able to let the steam out of the frother. That's like 1, 2, that's just 3 functions. Very simple. I plan to eventually upgrade to a more expensive machine. I'm thinking about getting the Breville Bambino just because it's an all steel look on the outside, and it probably extracts coffee better. But I feel much more relieved now knowing that I've given this a go for 1 year and I have honestly stuck with it. I love making coffee at home, so I've been able to prove to myself that it is now worth the better investment. But, anyways, coming back, or the bigger investment, coming back to this, look, the coffee is super simple to use, very beginner friendly. And the last perk that I want to talk about is look how small it is. It barely takes up any kitchen space. It does take up maybe a decent amount, but many of us live in apartments, many of us live in smaller homes, and we don't have massive kitchens. So, you don't need to be worried about this little thing taking up too much kitchen space. So, it's very, very versatile. And last thing I should say as well is that it also has a water tank that you can refill right here. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the perks. Now let's talk about the other side. Now, here's the honest truth. When you set your expectations fairly for this machine, there are basically no downsides. When you think about the amount of money that you are putting in versus how much value you are getting in return, I mean, if we're talking economically alone, you do get a return within the first year, or you do make savings. But if we're talking about the sheer value in terms of time, in terms of enjoyment, in terms of the fulfilling experience of being able to make your own coffee at home for such a relatively minimal investment, there are no downsides. But if we were to talk about practical downsides, here are my thoughts on them. So downside number one is that, look, one thing I was really excited to do when it came to making my own coffee was making cool latte art, because that's what everyone wants to do. The reality is that it is really, really freaking hard to do latte art. And I think one of the reasons why it's hard is because the frother on this machine isn't the best. And I think that is completely fair for it to not be the best, considering how cheap this machine is. So if you are someone that really thinks that you're going to get the perfect latte art experience to learn how to do latte art or milk art, coffee art, whatever, you're not going to get that with this machine. And I think that's okay. Mastering how to extract coffee alone is a really difficult skill to develop that takes time. Like latte art can come later. You can just practice extracting coffee with this machine, get to latte art later. The next thing is that it's very easy to outgrow this machine, and I will preface that again by saying that is okay. I have outgrown this machine. I can't even say that I've really outgrown it. Like, I just want a better machine now. I've used this for a year, and I think I have honestly made the most out of this machine in terms of my growth with getting better at coffee. I had the bottomless portafilter from the get-go, so I understand how to get a better extraction now. And I also understand things like it's not really just about how good you are as a person who's making coffee. It's also heavily about the quality of the beans. Like if you're using beans that are 6 months old and have been exposed to oxygen for that long, the quality of the beans is going to be absolute shithouse. So what that means is you're going to get a shitty extraction regardless. But yeah, look, you outgrow it quickly, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. The very last thing is that you can't really use tall mugs just because the distance between this thingy and the bottom isn't very tall. I mean, I've gotten rid of the tray that used to be here, so it was even shorter. But once again, that's not a big issue. I just use shorter mugs, and it is totally fine with me. Anyways, look, this is the Delonghi Stilosa, and I think it is an absolute amazing machine for the beginner, for the person who knows that they're never going to be a coffee pro and they just want to make, half great tasting coffee at home. Honestly, not even half great, probably better than half great. I genuinely think that the majority of coffee I've made using the machine tastes equal or if not better than most of the barista made coffee I've had. Now, that's not to talk down on baristas making coffee, but I think that there have been some really incredible experiences I've had with barista made coffee, but most of the time this has come kind of close. And I think that says something about coffee generally. Anyways, thank you for watching my review.